What are fibroids? Who gets them? How common are these? What causes them and what cures them?
Ooh, your questions again. Fibroids are benign tumors that develop within the wall of the uterus. They happen to women globally. When a woman is symptomatic with fibroids, she will often complain of abnormal bleeding, excessive bleeding, or she will complain of pain. We do not know what triggers a fibroid to develop, but what we do know is that fibroids tend to grow during our reproductive years when we have high levels of estrogen. Until relatively recently, the treatment for fibroids was surgical, meaning that either you would have a hysterectomy, removal of the entire uterus, or you would have a myomectomy where you would remove the fibroids to keep the uterus in place. There are other options now available to women. Fibroids has been a particular interest for me because it's very prevalent in African-American women. African-American women tend to develop them at an earlier age. We tend to be more symptomatic. We tend to need surgery. And as a result of needing surgery, we also tend to have more surgical complications because of large fibroids. Studies have shown that correcting vitamin D levels tend to help to reduce the size of fibroids. And African-American women tend to have low vitamin D levels. Nutrition, we also found that there are the chemicals that are ubiquitous in our society, the EDCs, these chemicals which are hormone-like, which can then feed the fibroids. And so the problem is that we live in a society where we're exposed to excessive amounts of estrogen or estrogen-like compounds, and possibly for African-American women, more so than most. And so we need to limit that. We need to change our diets, and we need more research.
Thank you. Which nutritional supplements do you recommend for adults? And are there any special ones for women that they should take?
I recommend for all people that they take vitamin D and B12 and that they test their levels. It's really important. Sometimes almost everyone I've seen is deficient in vitamin D, and depending on how deficient, often a loading dose is necessary. So I recommend people test it if they can. B12, same thing. That's something that's important that people keep up on. So those are two that I tell everyone to do. Usually a good probiotic is important when you're changing your diet. A lot of people realize that very shortly, especially trying something like hypernourishment, that when you go from almost no fiber to high fiber, a lot can happen, either too much too fast or not enough. So usually those three together can really help people. Although probiotics, they don't need to take forever, but usually at least for 2 to 6 months while they're transitioning their gut. Sometimes I will, based on the person, add other things depending on issues that they're having that are personal to them. But for most people, those are the three. And of course, as I mentioned, making sure you're getting iodine in some way.
I personally don't recommend vitamins much because I don't want to give the message that the answer is in vitamins. I believe that the answer is in nutritious food. Now, granted, our foods may not have all of the nutrients that we need, but we need to switch the focus. I don't want women coming in telling me they're taking a slew of vitamins. They're taking a multivitamin, they're taking sea moss, they're taking probiotics, they're taking all these different vitamins. I would rather them spend their money in getting organic, nutritious food. That being said, I do believe that we need to supplement with vitamin D and B12 if we're following a vegan diet. But I would prefer to focus on the food and not the nutrients, because the interactions of these vitamins and nutrients is way too complex. And I think we oversimplify what they do in our body.
Oh yeah, it'd be amazing if we could just give people a vitamin and they wouldn't have to eat all the foods, right? But it doesn't work. What I found is actually in both people who eat standard diets and in people who eat plant-based diets, that D is a universal thing they need, and B12 a lot of people still need regardless of diet. So like I said, I think it's a great idea to just test those things, because then you have your answer of whether you have enough or not, rather than trying to make it up. But all the other vitamins, 100%, you want to get those from the foods, wrapped up in the food that it came in, right? With the fiber attached to it. That's how you want to get it. And vitamins and minerals are going to come from plants. Minerals especially come from plants that are deep in the soil. So that's why vegetables are super important.